What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Today's video, we're taking a look at my best team in the Ultra Premier League that I have been climbing with pretty consistently over the last several days, featuring Sandslash Double Dragon. Alolan Sandslash, especially in this meta, has won almost every lead that I've played against, and the bad ones are usually pretty playable. We're going to take a look at this team over the 2-4-1 sets I had playing this team on stream on Friday when the league rotated in. Let's get into these battles here because it's Ultra League. It might take a little bit. So we're going to see a Feraligatr lead in the first game here. This is fairly okay. We swap immediately into Goodra here because I'm just going to get outpaced and Hydro Cannon hurts. This forces the opponent to throw the Ice Beam. I'm not shielding here because my idea is that if I can get a shield or energy advantage on my Sandslash, I'm doing okay. My opponent actually baits with a Hydro Cannon. And that's the only opponent that I've ever had that's ever baited with Hydro Cannon. Every time I've tried to call it afterwards, it's always been Ice Beam. So probably better for most of you to just assume it's Ice Beam. And even if it is Ice Beam, I wouldn't have been too worried about this particular game because obviously Sandslash just walls the energy of the Venusaur, which means that I could have gotten a pretty hefty farm down, maybe get to a couple Ice Punches and then let the move go. But now that we've gotten the Venusaur down into the red here, I'm okay with just letting this move go, and we're going to go to farm down with the Sandslash. If I take a Frenzy Plant, which I'm most likely going to do here, I'm fine with that. Dragalge is an absolute menace and amazing in this league here, because it does well against the fighters like this Annihilate here. It also does fairly well against most of the waters and the grass types that are trying to counter the waters and the electrics, right? The only thing that I'm really worried about, obviously, against this team here in specific overall, right? You see an Empoleon on the opposing side. It's going to be very difficult. You may not be able to win unless you finesse the absolute heck out of that game. Most of the Empoleons that I've been against, unfortunately, I wasn't able to pull out wins. But there have been a couple that have been very, very close. And I think that if you see it, especially in the lead, what you would look to do here is most likely just try to bait the first move and then try to outpace to the moves afterwards. You probably expect a catch too at some point. But one of the nice things here is that the Feraligatr, I'm going for this Aqua Tail here, and I'm hopefully going to be able to get to another Aqua Tail. But they no-shield it. I was expecting them to shield, and I was kind of hoping that they would so that I could pop in with my A-Slash here and take him out. But very good awareness by my opponent, knowing that I essentially should have gone for the Outrage. I win that game if I throw just one more, get to the Outrage, and then swap in my Alolan Sandslash. Now, I have to hope that I'm going to be able to get the damage off here in order to take out with an Aqua Tail, but unfortunately, I'm not quite there, and my Dragalge goes down. Good game to the opponent here, but this is the one loss, right? There's one more in here somewhere, but back-to-back 4-1 sets. We see a Steelix in the next game here, getting a really hard win on the lead, and the opponent staying in here, which really tells me that what they have in the back may also be weak to Alolan Sandslash. This little guy, small, but absolutely ferocious. Opponent shields up the first drill run. I assume they might be trying to use a breaking swipe here, but they go up to the Earthquake energy, so I have to respect it. If they're really going to be weak in the back to Sandslash, I need to make sure that I keep my Sandslash healthy. They bait with the Psychic Fangs. I sat there hitting the shield button knowing it was probably a bait, but I have to respect the damage of Earthquake. Now, we outpace to the next move. They are not quite at the Earthquake or have just gotten to it now, so we're going to go for this drill run. This is actually going to knock out the Steelix. The opponent just lets it go, and then they swap in Poliwrath, and immediately, as I go into my Goodra, they come in with a Pidgeot, and now I know all I need to know about this team. Okay, Dragalge will be able to do fine here in the end game. I just need to get the Pidgeot. You know, I get some energy off of the Sandslash, maybe pop off with a drill run against the opponent's Poliwrath before the Sandslash goes down. But my opponent goes straight for a Brave Bird, and if you ever doubted how thick Goodra is, that's perfect. We get the perfect amount of farm down here to get to a Power Whip, and that is going to really seal the game here, as the opponent shields up because they have to, and Dragalge is going to come in, and I can just go for the Outrage here. Now, I'm a little rude in this game, but the idea behind it was not so much to BM the opponent as much as it was to try and reset the debuff on Dragalge to guarantee that the Outrage is going to knock out. I catch this Icy Wind on the Sandslash. The opponent no-bubbles it, and I'm going to go for a charge move. I'm hoping maybe I can get to the move. I cannot get to the drill run here, unfortunately. So I'm just going to have to settle for an Ice Punch, but that'll put it down into a range where I know the Outrage will knock out. And with the shield, I'm able to take this game here by throwing the Outrage, and we're going to KO the Poliwrath, and honestly, that's the only Poliwrath I really saw for the most part this rotation. I was expecting to be far more common than they are, and we get another lead win here. And I'm telling you guys, Alolan Sandslash wins so many leads. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to catch a Hydro Cannon on my Goodra. Unfortunately, not going to succeed. Opponent's going to go for a charge move. They have a huge energy lead, so they really, honestly, it makes sense for them to go for the Ice Beam here. I tried to call another Hydro Cannon thinking maybe they'd do it, and then they get to a Hydro Cannon very quickly afterwards to look for the knockout. Now, I'm going to shield up here because I would like to get a shield from my opponent here, and I mean, if they don't shield, I get switch, which is nice, but it's going to depend on what's in the back. Sand Slash, honestly, I would have preferred to, but my opponent actually lets it go, keeping shield advantage, which means I win switch and Alolan Sand Slash gets to stay locked on to this Pidgeot, which is actually really big because, I mean, Dragalge would probably do okay, but the pacing and the awkwardness of the move timing, and then I have to deal with, what am I going to Feather Dance? The opponent has a Annihilape in the back here, so they did make a crucial mistake here by not going for switch advantage. If you're in that situation and your Pidgeot has a hard lead loss and you have a hard answer in the back, you want to go for switch advantage here. Now, for all I know, the opponent may have assumed I was just going to throw an Aqua Tail. Maybe that's what they were trying to do. But unfortunately, them having that shield advantage is going to be detrimental here because they get to multiple Ice Punches. I have to shield one up. And I'm actually looking for an interesting win con here. What I want to do is I want to be able to get this Annihilape low enough that the Shadow Claws from my Sand Slash will knock out. Because my Sand Slash is pretty healthy, and if the opponent throws right here, which they do, they just got to their Ice Punch, which means they still need another 6 counters to get to another one. And an Ice Punch is not going to threaten a Alolan Sand Slash. I have the Ice Punch loaded, they swap in the Pidgeot, and I immediately go for the Ice Punch, not willing to give them any farm. And then we're going to be able to go for the Shadow Claw down on the Annihilape, and Alolan Sand Slash is officially an Annihilape counter confirmed. Getting into our next battle here, we got Sand Slash on the lead versus Greedent. This is a very bad lead if you're running Shadow Claw. You could certainly run Powder Snow if you want to. I don't hate it. You just have a worse matchup against most of like the waters. It's really a trade-off, right? But you have a much better matchup against basically every dragon and every grass, so it's a toss-up. My opponent now comes in with a Tentacruel. I expect them to probably have something else in the back that's strong against fighting. Could be a Flyer, could be another Poison type, could be anything really. So I'm just going to let this go as they did not build up to the Blizzard. I don't think they did. If they did, then I'm just going to say you can have it. They go for the Scald here. I get the attack drop, which is unfortunate. I'm going to be able to hopefully hit this Power Whip before going down. Goodra showing off the thick Goodra-ness. The Power Whip hits, and unfortunately I go down, and now the Sand Slash gets the farm down here, and I have to swap immediately, because I would rather come into this Greedent matchup with energy, and Dragalge gets to do some damage here. If the opponent is not strong in the back to Dragalge, this is looking good for me here. Body Slam, and then the opponent now comes in with Galvantula, so they're definitely weak in the back to this Dragalge. Dragalge is an amazing Pokemon in this meta. It is just, it's always been so good. And if you want to, you could run Gunk Shot over Outrage if you see a lot of fairies. I don't hate this idea. But Outrage for me has been much more, has been much more consistent. And also, I know that not everybody has an XL Dragalge, and I mean, unfortunately, it really is just that unique in this meta. You could try running something like Dragonite in the back if you like. It may not be as good, just for the simple fact that you know, you don't have the bulk, right? So I'm going to swap out here after getting some energy, reset my attack debuff after that lunge from the Galvantula. The opponent has saved their shields for their Greedent, and I need to just land a couple of charge moves or get the shields out of the way here. I have about 2 Aqua Tails on my Dragalge, so at this point, I'm just looking to fish for shields, and that's the name of the game, right? I either get it low enough to get an Aqua Tail to knock out, or we're going to be able to get the Outrage off. So I'm going to go for the Ice Punch yet again, just to make sure that I'm pressuring my opponent to throwing quicker. The Drill Run would have given them that ability to overfarm by, by a little bit more, because they knew it was the more expensive move. Excuse me, and then we're going to be able to get this Body Slam. They're going to go for the Body Slam. I'm shielding up, and we see MP here on this charge move, which means that this Drill Run's going to get off. They're going to be very low, and all I need to do at this point is hit the Aqua Tail, but honestly, we could just go for Outrage if we've got it loaded. Do we have the Outrage loaded? Yes, we do. I see the Outrage on my screen. It's loaded, it's up, it's gone, and now we're going to be able to KO this Greedent, and just because... Boom! Good game. So as you can kind of see here, the strategy with this team is Sand Slash does Sand Slash things, and in a bad lead, we pivot to Goodra, just like this game right here. And then Dragalge, we're going to let to sweep in the end game with shields or, you know, energy or whatever we can get on it. Now, opponent goes for this Ice Punch. Again, I already know that I'm going to lose switch as soon as they do this, because they go for that, and then, like, they're just... I mean, if they're staying in, that's fine. My opponent just comes in with an Ampharos here, so now I'm a little bit less convinced that I can't get switch, and I think I have to go for it. Now, the opponent's team is clearly not really respecting the Dragalge much, so I'm hoping that maybe they're completely weak to Dragalge. So it's going to depend what's in the back here. But now they let the Power Whip through. I could fight for Switch if I want to here. And in this case, I'm going to let it go, right? I don't necessarily need it if I'm going to put my faith in Dragalge with shield advantage, which is what I'm looking to do here. So I'm giving the fact that the opponent has an Annihilate and an Electric in the back. I'm gonna hope maybe they're not really respecting Dragalge. So I've said it like 4 times this game, but it really is something to drive home. And they come in with a Swampert, which means while they somewhat do respect the Dragalge here, they certainly don't respect it enough to run something that hard beats it. Now, unfortunately, I know this is a bait, but I'm like forced to shield it. I really don't want to, but I have to. But I'm hoping the opponent respects this move in kind as it is an Aqua Tail, but I built up past the Outrage. They do shield, so now what I need to do here is I need to shield at this move. Could be an Earthquake, and I can't let it through if it's not. They go for another Hydro Cannon. So once again, I cannot overfarm very much, so I'm just going to go straight for the Outrage. And the reason why I don't overfarm anymore, or why I don't let that go, is because now we are able to get this Annihilate once again in range for Sand Slash to do Sand Slash things. Remember, we had some energy on there, and I'm going to be able to get... The opponent goes for the Shadow Ball. I have 1 HP. I'm not getting to a move, so I immediately pivot into Sand Slash. We're able to outpace because they threw the Shadow Ball immediately when they got it. And, you know, even though it's hard to deal with Annihilate with Sand Slash, if you can get to a move quickly, you're usually golden. So we're getting into the next battle here. Dragalge with the shield advantage is really the key. So Venusaur, great lead. The whole team has really good play here. Really want to keep Goodra away from it, if anything. My opponent swaps into Kingdra. I love Kingdra. I don't know if it's underrated in this meta. You could probably use it in place of Goodra on this team if you want to, if you don't have one. But what I'm doing here is I'm going to wait for them to throw their move. This is an Octazooka. I was counting the moves. I know that this is only an Octazooka, and Outrage is a little bit more. So they go for the Octazooka, and I immediately pivot into my Goodra after seeing that I got the attack drop. And because I know it's about 17, I think, to the Octazooka, I know I can farm down with Goodra. And the opponent still has a tough time here. Now they're forced to bring in their Dragonite. I can get 2 Aqua Tails off here, which is ideal because Aqua Tail still, even though resisted, does good chip damage to the Dragonite. Look at this. We're almost going to be able to take out the Dragonite with just the 2 Aqua Tails that we had in the Dragon Breaths that we've done. So this already leaves them in a very bad position. Now, they have like 2 HP. I'm going to come in with my Sand Slash, and I'm gonna shield once because, right, I can still pressure this Venusaur, and as soon as they see Dragalge, they're going to be very sad. So they save 2 shields for their Venusaur, hoping I probably have a water type in the back, right? And that's pretty normal. For most A-slash teams, you're going to see things like for Alligator, Jellicent, Tentacruel, or Lantern in the back. But what I've done here is I've kind of subverted those expectations and included the Dragons because I really don't want to deal with Lantern in this meta. Y'all know me. I hate Lantern. Opponent gives up when they see Dragalge. Good game. You all know I hate that fish. Sand Slash on the lead, we get in a lull in Ninetales. Another lead win here as the opponent is trying to hard counter those Dragonite leads, and we are seeing them stay in here as they are probably weak in the back to the Sand Slash as well. Timing on this matchup is crucial. You want to be throwing on 1, 4, or 7 Shadow Claws here into the lull in Ninetales. The opponent now sends in their Goodra, and I'm going to go for the Ice Punch here in order to either get some HP advantage or get shield advantage here, and then bring in my own Goodra pretty quickly here. Now, my opponent, I try to catch the Aqua Tail here, but the opponent holds onto their energy very well. So I could make a play for Switch. I could make a play for shield advantage. The opponent goes for the Power Whip, trying to go for the slightly heavier hitting move. I'm just going to go for Aqua Tail, honestly. The energy that it takes to get to a Power Whip is almost, it's like an Aqua Tail and a half. The damage really isn't that significantly different. And so if I can here, what I'd like to do is I'd like to get a farm down or win Switch. Now, because the opponent now throws, I got that 1 Dragon Breath through. I'm able to get the win here on the Switch advantage, and I'm able to keep pretty low, farm for the opponent's for their Ninetales. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get to the Aqua Tail before going down, which would have been really helpful here. But I'm going to have to call this. I think this is just a Weather Ball because they didn't quite build up to what would be a Psyshock, and they don't. So I'm going to go for, once again, good timing, go for the Ice Punch here, as it would probably be close enough to being able to knock out at this point. Ice Punch is going to get the shield off of the Alolan Ninetales, and they are weak in the back to Alolan Sand Slash. So I'm going to get their final shield, then throw another Ice Punch as soon as I get it because I want to just get rid of it. And they have a Lantern in the back. Guess what, baby? Dragon types, Wall Lantern, and that's exactly why I like playing Double Dragon. Good game. All right, we're getting into the next battle here. Sand Slash on the lead versus Nidoqueen. Haven't seen this in a little while. Nidoqueen on the lead, and they immediately pivot into a Mandibuzz. So Mandibuzz super neutral into this team here. On PV Poke, the simulations show that Dragalge does get a win here, but it has to land the Outrage. What I'd like to do instead is I'd like to stay in, and I know that I have pretty good play against the Nidoqueen. Everything on this team has water coverage for super effective damage. I eat the Dark Pulse so that my Goodra can withstand some extra damage. What I'd like to do is come out of this matchup with at least an Aqua Tail loaded, so I'm going to overfarm by quite a bit. I know I can eat 2 Dark Pulses quite cleanly here. I'm going to go for the Aqua Tail and then get the Mandibuzz hopefully low enough to the point where I can just farm him down, which is it's pretty likely at this point. They're throwing straight Dark Pulse, so I should be able to farm down here. And I just, like I said, I want to leave with an Aqua Tail loaded to deal with the Nidoqueen. But the opponent actually swaps out hard into the Nidoqueen here, knowing that they're going to get farmed down before they get to the last charge move. I'm going to go for this Aqua Tail. I'm actually not going to be able to swap out, but I am able to get to another Aqua Tail here before going down. This is going to do quite a bit of damage to Shadow Nidoqueen. She is bulky, but not quite bulky enough to the point where this wouldn't do enough to make a difference. And now I come in with my Sand Slash, and the opponent throws a move. I'm respecting Earth Power here 100%. I expect that in this game they may have another Dark type in the back, so I'm expecting perhaps maybe Scrafty or even an Umbreon, right? Some Dark type, maybe even like, you know, Greninja, right? Something that would be a bit troublesome or core well with Nidoqueen. But the opponent actually has a Venusaur, so they're running an ABA Poison team. As soon as I see the Venusaur, I'm pivoting out. I farm down the Mandibuzz here, I would have, and then I would have been able to kill the Venusaur. Good game to the opponent. Getting into our next battle, we got Sand Slash on Elite versus Empoleon. This is the tricky one. I did not realize that I should be baiting in this matchup at some point. So we're going to go for the drill run here. The opponent's Empoleon wins CMP. This is very, very difficult. I actually opt to let the Hydro Cannon go and try to go for shield advantage here, which I'm hoping maybe pays off. Empoleon typically run with double dragon, so I would expect them to have dragon types in the back. Unfortunate thing, though, is that the opponent's Empoleon can eat this Dragon Breath damage quite nicely and get to a Drill Peck long before I can get to a Power Whip to threaten it. And now it's going to depend on what they have in the back. So they're going to come in with Dragalge here. So they are playing a Dragon Empoleon core, which is normal. Usually when I see Empoleon, I would expect them to have dragons. I've seen some crazy people running Clefable, though, but the Dragon Breath damage is what's going to add up here. But Aqua Tails doing that little chip is what's going to put Goodra ahead in this matchup. So the opponent looking to just completely get rid of my Goodra here, but they don't bother to go for a move at all, which is kind of strange. And I'm not even able to get the Aqua Tail off here, and even though I had it loaded, which is really unfortunate. And you're going to see that damage actually ends up mattering in this matchup as I come in with my Dragalge, because it's going to be able to withstand the Steel Wing damage a bit better than Alolan Sand Slash could. And again, I'm expecting to have Dragon in the back, so I'm kind of saving my Slash in case they have. And it's a Venusaur, and they make a really nice catch on this Venusaur getting the Aqua Tail. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay in for just a little bit longer here and look to get some energy, go for this Outrage, see if we can clap the cheekies off of this Venusaur. The opponent's Empoleon did swap out with energy as they did catch. I'm going to pop in with my Sand Slash here. We're going to eat this energy, and I'm actually going to let this go and hope that somehow, some way, I can get rid of the Empoleon with this shield that I've got left. Maybe the fast moves will add up to be enough, and they probably would have if I had been able to not let them leave with the whole move and a half loaded. Also, the Aqua Tail at this point definitely would have mattered. So good game to the opponent here. They made a couple of really great plays in order to take advantages. But overall, this is a very, very rough thing to take care of here. All right, we get an Umbreon in the lead in the next game here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stay in for a little bit and chip the Umbreon. Even though they resist the Shadow Claws, it's not exactly my favorite matchup. It's just like dealing with Mandibuzz, except unfortunately, the Ice Punches are not super effective here. So Drill Run is going to chip, and then I'm going to pop into Goodra. If they throw, that's great. That means it's energy that I'm going to be able to eat on Goodra. The Goodra and Dragalge are a lot bulkier than people would really give them credit for. And the opponent has a Charmer in the back. How exciting! So, unfortunately, yep, so I'm going to try to go for double Aqua Tail here. I don't know, do I actually succeed in going for double Aqua Tail here? I don't think I do I? No, I should have just gone for the Power Whip here, but now I come in with a Alolan Sand Slash, and I'm not going to shield this. So, what I'm really hoping is this is their only Charmer. This is all I can, that's the only thing that I can bank on here. So what I'm going to look to do here is I'm going to look to farm up as much energy as I possibly can without going too crazy. All right, I want to leave some HP to deal with, you know, whatever's in the back in case they are weak. Maybe they have double charm. That means I do absolutely need to keep my Alolan Sand Slash with some HP so that it can deal with it. Dragalge now is going to come in after this, and we're going to see what they have in the back. The opponent is not swapping out, so I'm thinking they either may be trying to toy with me, or they do have something in the back that may be weak to the Dragalge, which would be absolutely massive. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to look to no shield this, and I mean, I should probably shield, but honestly, like, at this point, it's just going to come down to whatever's in the back. I get a perfect farm down here, tons of energy. What's in the back? It's actually a Talonflame, which is not awful here, but, you know, we do have to play this carefully, right? So I'm going to be able to go for so many Aqua Tails here. I'm going to fit 3 more moves in good timing here. The opponent now just getting to their first charge move, and they shield up here. I should be able to get to 2 Aqua Tails. What I need to do, because of that overfarm, now I can go for 1 Dragon Tail, then the move in the first Incinerate, then 1 Dragon Tail, and then the move in the second Incinerate, which is why this timing stuff is really so important, because I would have probably been outpaced otherwise here if I hadn't really followed the timing. So this is going to take the Talonflame here, and this is going to take it out, and this is going to be a good game here. Well played to these opponents. This team absolutely popping off in the Ultra Premier Cup. I love it. This team is just so much fun. You could also run Empoleon if you couldn't get your hands on a good Alolan Sandslash. I forgot to put the shadow icon on mine up on top there, but it is a shadow, which obviously you saw in the game. So that's going to do it for me for today, guys. Just one quick reminder, too. It may be one thing to see the video, but the Discord that I have that's under my Patreon and YouTube memberships, please check the link in the description or the pinned comment if you're interested in joining that awesome community. They have a full write-up of how to play almost every common lead in this meta, and people are popping off with this team. And this has been in my Discord since Sunday. So please, you know, if you're looking for the good inside info and you want, you know, pick my brain, honestly, you can tag me in that Discord if you want to. I'll answer every ping. If that's important to you, or if you enjoy it, you think it's worth a few bucks a month for it, please go ahead and check it out. And otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.